Welcome to Success Theory. My name is Stephen, and in this episode, we're going to be discussing the change curve. Now, in this episode, we're going to be coming at the change curve from mainly a leadership management perspective and how you would navigate a team through change or how you would navigate within an organization going through change. But also, because I really feel like the change curve is something that we all do. We go through change. All of us go through change. I wanted to also add in a little bit of perspective from a habit and a growth and a success theory from your own life into this video, because you can take some of these organizational ideas about change and put them into your life. Now, before we jump into it, hit that subscribe button if you like the idea of finding the hidden path to your success and getting more success theories in your life. Change curve and change is a huge success theory. So if you like the idea of this video, you'll like the ideas in many of my other videos. So hit that subscribe button and hit that like button too. Now, the change curve. Before diving into it, I wanted to come at it from a general perspective, and I wanted to come at the idea of change from a philosophical perspective as well by discussing one of my favorite change quotes, which I'm just going to bring up on the screen now. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. Lao Tzu. In life, whenever you come up against a large, substantial change, you're more likely than not going to resist that change. Your initial reaction is going to be, ooh, I don't want to do that. And that is the same within an organization or within your own habits that you're trying to change. What Lao Tzu is saying here is you need to be a little bit more flexible. Reality is reality. If the organization you're working for is heading towards a massive restructuring, or you really need to change because your habits have slipped, you've put a lot of weight on, you're drinking a lot of pop or alcohol and you're not feeling healthy, and you've got to the point where you have to change, you have to change. That's the thing here. So you need to go with reality and understand why the change is needed and then lean into the change. And I wanted to frame this video or this episode with that idea, just so we all have a rough feeling of where I'm coming from around the idea of change. That it's something that we have to get used to, and it's something that happens to all of us. Now, the next slide I'm going to bring up on the screen is actually two change models that have been layered over the top of each other. And for me, these are the two best change models that I like to refer to, not only in my life, but within organizational structure. They really do help you understand how change happens. And I'll bring them up on the screen now. Okay, so you see two change models there that are layered over the top of each other. The first one, the red line that you see, that is Gartner's hype cycle. And then the other one that you see, something you might have already recognized when you see innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggers with the chasm in there. This is Geoffrey Moore's The Chasm. Now, the chasm is something that Geoffrey Moore entered into what I would call a fairly standard change model, going from innovators and early adopters through to laggers. Now, both these curves link into each other in a sense that you can see that at the start of change, you will get some people involved. The enthusiasm will be high. You'll hit a dip. And then once you get past that dip, or the chasm as Mr. Moore calls it, you will get into the slope of enlightenment or the slope of change, and then productivity will plateau, or the rest of your team, your late majority and your laggers, will eventually come around to working the new way. The most important part of any change is the chasm. It's the trough of disillusionment. It is where everything drops down. And this is where a lot of change fails. Not only in organizations, not only will you find new procedures and processes failing at this point and people reverting back to their old ways of doing work. This is where this change curve also really hurts you in life. So when you start a new habit, your enthusiasm is through the roof. Through the roof, as it showed on the graph that you just saw there. Through the roof, you're really excited about it. You start doing it. You're an early adopter. You're an innovator, so to speak. You're going to the gym at 5 a.m. every morning. Or you're getting up at a certain time, or you're doing this new habit that's great for you. But after about 1 or 2 weeks, you get into this dip. And this is the same for any leaders or in any organization. There will be a dip 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, a month into it. There will be a dip. There will be this point where the rest of your mindset doesn't want to keep doing it, or as I've heard it before, described before, is habit gravity will pull the habits of the organization or your own habits back to what you used to do. So if you used to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, but you're getting up at 5 now going to the gym, a week or two into that, you'll be tired, you'll not want to do it. Your mind will be like, just do the old process. Just be the old you. Stay in bed to 7. You deserve it. And this is the same in an organization. This is the same in an organization when a new process, a new procedure, a new way of thinking comes in. There'll be an enthusiasm, but there'll be a certain point where the teams or the organization gets busy and everybody will just revert back to their previous process, and you'll hit this dip where that new idea, those new processes, they don't push through. They don't become part of the organization, and they don't come embedded in the organization. And this is where I want to bring up a very short quote, but another quote of why this part is the most important part of any habit or change curve. You need the management structure, you need the leadership, and you need to drive yourself personally through a habit change with this simple idea from Jack Welch. I'll bring it up now. Change before you have to. Obviously, Jack Welch. What Jack Welch is saying here is very powerful. At a certain point, we're going to be backed up against the wall where we have to change. So it's better to see these changes before you have to change. And this is the whole point of the change curve. A lot of organizations are always trying to implement new ideas because they see a change is coming and they need to get on board, or they've been forced into making a decision where a big change has to happen. This is the same in your life. This is the same when it comes to habits. Change before you have to. If you're eating ice cream every day, if you're working in an organization that the money's just going out the door and your expenditure is higher than your income, you know that change has to happen. If you're doing the same with your health and your diet, you're bringing in more unhealthy habits, eating lots of junk food more than you're eating healthy food, you know a change is going to happen, and you're going to have to change before you have to change. Because sometimes when it gets to the point where you have to change, it can be too late. And that is a big thing about organizations, and that is a big thing about change curve in your life and with your habits. There is a certain point where it doesn't matter what you do, no change is going to help you pull back the deficit. Now, rolling back into this idea of the change curve, I'm going to bring back up the slide earlier here. This is where I'm going to talk about this from a little bit of a leadership perspective. So this is moving away from the habit ideas. This is going from direct experience from being involved in a number of change initiatives within corporate environments. The most important thing you can do at this chasm point on the screen here, this tough area where disillusionment is really high, this is where you really need to help the early adopters and the innovators pull more people to them from the early majority. The bigger of a gap and the harder it is for the early majority to join the early adopters, this is where a lot of change is going to die. So from my direct experience, I've actually found that you really need to get into those early adopters, and you need to make it as easy as possible for them to cross that chasm, for them not to get sucked into that trough, or that dip of disillusionment. You know, you really need to help them get on board and get going. And how do you do that? Well, you do that by making it easy. You do that by really helping the early adopters and the innovators to make it look like it's not just the smart people, or it's not just the people that get it, or the new people because they're used to new technology. You really have to build processes and keep things simple. One of the worst examples that I've seen from my experience is when a change happens, they get all the staff together and then they dump all this information on the staff, and then they're just like, okay, there's the change, go and do it. The managers are disillusioned, the staff are disillusioned, and within a couple of weeks or a month, they're back to doing their old processes, and maybe a little bit of the change was in there. The best way to do change is to embed the changes in simple steps. If you're trying to do a change, let's say, and you have a 20-page document, that document should be able to be summarized in a 4-step process, a 3-step process, a sentence, a paragraph. Everybody should understand very lightly at a very, very high level what the change is, and then the details come into it. The big change, the big idea should be very, very clear and succinct. It should be very easy to follow, and the technical part is what everybody's going to get. Where a lot of failures happen and where a lot of change happens is organizations don't do that. Now you might think, hold on a second, that doesn't seem like it's really that hard to do. And I'm saying it's not. But organizations don't do that. They don't make things easy for people. They dump staff and managers with a bunch of information, a handbook, a new process, a new procedure, and they're like, okay, you've been trained, see you later. No follow-up training, no easy step processes, no manager separated from their unit or their team to help push the change across the line, across the organization. It happens so often in a lot of organizations that it's sink and swim. And if you're a manager or you're a leader within an organization and you're going through a change right now and you can see that happening, that dump of information, and then there you go, make sure that even within your team, within your unit, you are making the change as easy and as simple as possible for your staff. And you will see your ideas spread around to other units and other managers. And that could be a really good thing for your career. If you can stand out as somebody who can make change easy and as somebody who can tip that seesaw, bring some of those more early adopters and late adopters across that chasm earlier, you'll be onto a winner. Now, to wrap up this video, I wanted to bring up one more quote that just sums up everything from another master of business and another master of change, one of my favorite executive philosophers, and that's from Peter Drucker. I'll bring it up on the screen now. The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence. It is to act with yesterday's logic. Peter Drucker. That is a beauty of a quote from Peter Drucker. Turbulence is a time for opportunity. It is a time to bring new ideas to the table. It is time to push forward. And if you can bring calm to turbulence in an organization with your team, as a staff member, as a manager, as a leader, as a CEO, you will stand out so much more than the people around you. Also in your own life. Don't rely on your thinking from 6 months ago or a year ago, because that's the thinking that got you to this turbulence, this point where you need to change your habits. Create some new ideas. Create structures in your life and systems in life that allow you to make change easy. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want to do a big change in your life, whether it's in an organization or whether it's with your own habits, make it really simple and really clear so you can do it. The simpler you make it, the easier you understand it, the more you're going to be able to lean into it, and the better you're going to make that change, and you're not going to hit that chasm, you're not going to hit that disillusioned area, and you're going to be able to push through and help the people around you in your organization or yourself get better, embrace that change, and become a stronger person. That's a success theory from the change curve. Use the ideas from that I've discussed in this video to help you get through change. Change is happening every day. It's part of our journey. It's part of our success theories. But understanding how change can affect you mentally and how change can affect your organization and people around you is the hidden path. Without understanding how that happens, you'll get lost. And hopefully this video has given you some understanding of how change can be difficult and how to pass through that change. Let me know in the comments below. Love to hear your thoughts on change curve. Love to hear your thoughts if you've ever gone through a massive change in an organization or whether you're trying to change your own habits in your life. Thanks very much for watching all the way through to this part of the video. I really do appreciate it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, come along and help you find the hidden path to your success with more success theories on this channel. Hopefully, we'll see you in the next one.